Hi guys, welcome back to 17 square meters garden. I'm about to order some bulbs and new berry perennials for my garden for this summer, and I also have some seeds that I will be sowing you really soon. So I thought I will share with you what new plants I will be adding to my balcony garden this summer, because I get asked if I could share how I'm planning my garden for different seasons. So this will give you an idea on how I do it and what is my thought process. I might disappoint you by saying that I am not one of those super organized gardeners who make Excel spreadsheets listing all the seeds that they have, when to sow them, how to sow them, when to transfer them outside. I don't even draw any plans of my balcony garden. Heck, I don't even know how many pots I have on my balcony right now. But that's something that I'm obviously trained to do, but I never really enjoy that part. And I think that on my balcony garden, I garden on such a small scale that I don't feel the need to put things on the paper in order to remember them or to visualize them. I keep it all in my head, and that's what works for me. I think that even if I made a plan, I'll probably never even stick to it. But that being said, I do get ready ahead of time. For example, with my spring bulbs, so the bulbs that are flowering in the spring that you plant in the fall, I pre-order them already in May and June. But let's focus on summer 2023. For example, right now we are at the end of January and I already know what I will be planting in summer. So how it works for me. On my balcony I have a lot of evergreen plants. So these are the plants that keep their foliage year round. And then I have a lot of perennial plants that die back in the winter time, but then they come back every spring. And these are the pots I don't touch unless obviously something happens with the plant, it dies or it breaks or whatever. But then I have a lot of seasonal pots. I have 9 pots on the railing and about 20 pots on the floor, which are reserved just for seasonal plantings. This way, my balcony garden keeps a permanent structure that is provided by those evergreen and perennial plants. And then for the rest of the pots, I'm having fun with some annual and seasonal plants because I do like that element of having something different, having something new each year, trying plants that I have never grown on my balcony before. So how I choose my plants, first thing that I take in consideration is aspect. My balcony is northeast facing and the sun shines here only in summer months and only in the early morning hours. But that early morning sun, it's not the same as the afternoon sun, obviously. It's not as intense. For example, 3-4 hours in the morning is not the same as 3-4 hours in the afternoon. So my balcony is shade to part shade. But there is that fine line I noticed with certain plants. So, for example, some plants are tagged as full sun plants, but they grow actually really well in part shade. For example, my geraniums or my pelargoniums, they are tagged as full sun, but they bloom so beautifully in part shade. So it's always, you never know until you try. That's why I try different plants every year. And then number 2 is colors. I try to keep a certain color scheme because my balcony is in the shade for most part of the day, so I try to choose cool-toned plants, so pinks and really light purples, blues and whites, because these are the colors that are more visible in the shade. Because, for example, hot colors like red and oranges and bright yellows, you more associate those colors with like really hot and sunny areas, so they tend to look out of place in the shade, and also those kind of colors tend to disappear in the shade. Okay, so here I have my shoebox full of seeds. I'm gonna show you which ones I will be growing this year on my balcony. So I chose 2 zinnias. Zinnias are tagged as full sun plants, but as I said, I'm gonna make some experiments. I want to elevate pots off the floor so that they can catch as much sun as they possibly can, and I'm hoping to get some blooms from these 2 zinnias. I have 2 beautiful cultivars. I have Zinnia Art Deco and Zinnia Cresto Peachy Pink. So yeah, really excited to give them a try and we'll see how that goes. Next I have Tagetes or Marigolds. Snowstorm Tagetes are actually one of the first flowers that I grew on my balcony. They are tagged as full sun plants, but they grow really well in part shade. And they are such low maintenance plants, very easy to grow from seeds, very beginner friendly. Next I have Astrantia Major Symphony Rose. Astrantias are such stunning flowers. I've always wanted to grow them. They come in different colors, but I chose a pink one. For some reason, I'm always drawn towards pink flowers. Next, I have Cosmos Kiro, beautiful cultivar, creamy yellow, and I really hope it will bloom for me. So the funny thing with Cosmos is I grew it already several years ago. So how it works on my balcony, like when the sun is shining on my balcony, it moves from the building wall towards the edge of the balcony. So the plants that are on the railing, they receive more sunlight than those that are next to the wall. And I planted cosmos in that large white concrete pot that I have at the back of my balcony, and those that were close to the wall didn't bloom, but those that were closer to the railing, they bloomed. So I'm hoping as well to place the pot strategically so that they can catch as much sun as they possibly can, and I'm hoping to get some flowers from this beautiful Cosmos Kiro. Next I have Gypsophila paniculata snowflake, beautiful dainty white flowers, perfect for bouquets. This one is short and mound forming, so it should be really fun to grow it in pots. And some Gypsophilas tolerate more shade, and apparently this one can be grown in part shade, so we shall see. And the last one is Amaranthus. I have a mix of colors. I always liked the tail-like blooms of Amaranthus. I think it looks so cool in bouquets. And Amaranthus can be grown in part shade. Though I have never grown it on my balcony before, I have never grown it in containers, so I think I will plant one pot just as a trial to see what happens. Okay, so here are all the flowers that I'm gonna be growing from seeds this year. I still don't know where exactly I will plant them on my balcony, but that's the good part about container gardening, is that you can move your pots as you please. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm gonna also purchase some new perennials for my garden and some summer flowering bulbs. So I'm gonna show you my wish list. I will have to narrow down because I have, I think, 10 plants on my wish list, and I don't think I have that many containers available. Or maybe I have. Who knows? But yeah, I have some pretty plants that I chose, and one thing that I wanted to say is I ordered berry perennials because I think that's such an amazing way to get your hands on some more unique varieties, more unique cultivars. And they are also less expensive this way. So as the name indicates, they come as bare roots. So you only receive roots, no soil, no pot, no leaves, just bare roots. And I do have a video on how to plant bare root perennials that I recorded last spring. You can find it on my channel. And one thing to keep in mind is when you plant bare root perennials, those plants may not look amazing, and they most likely will not look amazing the first year. They take their sweet time to establish. It can take up to 2, sometimes even 3 years before they look as beautiful and as showy as you see them you know, on the page in those shops where you buy them from. So be very patient with them. So let me show you what I have on my wish list right now. So I have 2 beautiful hostas on my wish list. Hostas can grow in full shade. They have beautiful foliage. There are all kinds of hostas, all kinds of colors. When I saw this one, it was like an instant click, like instantly on my wish list. I fell in love with this plant, literally. This is Hosta White Feather, and isn't she beautiful? I mean, just look at those leaves. It looks amazing in containers, and hostas are so easy to grow and so easy to propagate. The foliage may not be as large the first year, but the second year then they literally explode. And then the second hosta that I'm eyeing is Hosta Captain's Adventure. Also beautiful variegated leaves. And now from flowering perennials that I'm gonna be adding, I have this Polemonium Heaven's Sent, beautiful flowering plant with purple bluish flowers. The leaves emerge early in the spring, and they have dark color, and then the plant blooms late spring towards early summer, and once it's done blooming, the leaves turn from darker to more green color. But I think that just the leaves themselves provide a beautiful structure. And this plant, you can grow it either in full sun or in part shade. And as you can see, it's fragrant, loved by pollinators, and yeah, quite low maintenance as well. And the last perennial that I want to add is Geranium plenum. A beautiful pink flowering geranium. It's a hardy geranium, not like, you know, zonal geranium or pelargoniums as we call them. This one is fully hardy. Also can be grown in full sun and in partial shade. Also low maintenance, and yeah, they say it's drought tolerant, so that's awesome as well. Okay, so from summer flowering bulbs, I only chose lilies. I really like lilies. I have I grow them every year. Some of them I keep permanently, like right now I have a beautiful lily, Oriental Lily Muscadet. Number one reason why I hear that people don't plant them on their balconies is because they don't bloom for a very long time. And if you want to keep them for several years, then it's a little bit like with spring bulbs. You have to leave the leaves, allow them to die back naturally. And with lilies, they until like fall, the leaves will remain green. So you will have plant that is blooming 2 weeks out of the year, and then it will only be just green leaves. And if you have a small balcony where you have limited amount of space and limited amount of pots, I think people want to grow more plants that are like blooming the entire season, not just 2 weeks out of the year. But I really do like them, and I really like to have at least a few containers with them because they are just such a beautiful plants. But what is on my wish list is Lily Martagon, beautiful lily with reflexed petals. And apparently you can expect up to 20 flowers on one stem. So even though they don't bloom for a very long time, when they bloom, they are like very spectacular. Then I have a lily Candy Blossom. It's a double lily, really beautiful one as well, I think. Okay, the third lily that I have here on my list is Lilium regale, or regali, I don't know how you pronounce it correctly. These have very long stems and very large showy flowers, and this one blooms for a little bit longer than older lilies, at least that's what they say. It's written these flowers will last for a good period of time in a garden, in a container, or in a vase, so even as cut flowers. That's really exciting. The last lily that I chose is Lilium speciosum variety rubrum. So it's not any new fancy cultivar, it's a very old species. As they say, this species was cultivated already in the 1800s, and it is still cultivated nowadays. So that just goes to show you how incredible this lily is, and for that reason alone I would love to have it on my balcony garden. Okay, I have decided which plants I'm gonna order, so let me show you my basket. So I have the hosta, one hosta. I didn't take the other one. I decided just to go with the white one because this one is the one that I liked the most. Then I chose the Polemonium Heaven Sent, one bare root, Geranium plenum, 3 bare roots, because they only come as 3 bare roots. There is no option to buy only one. Lilium speciosum variety rubrum, 1 bulb, Lily Candy Blossom. I think it comes in a bag of 3, you can choose only one. And then I decided to take 3 Lilium regale because I'm not sure how many I will plant on my balcony, but if I end up using only one, then I can give 2 of them to someone else. So that's my purchase. I show you the price because, you know, I want to be very clear, because people often ask like, how much money do you spend on all of these plants? So I think that's a reasonable price, because that's a lot of plants, and it will fill a lot of my seasonal containers. And also I'm adding some perennials that will be a permanent feature in my garden, and I will have probably some spare plants that I can share with friends and family. So that's always really nice when I can do it. Okay, you guys, I hope that you enjoyed taking a peek on how I'm planning, but not really planning, my balcony garden for the summer season, how I'm choosing the plants. As you can see, I'm keeping the things really relaxed and quite spontaneous. That's how I like to garden, that's how I enjoy it. And I hope that it gave you some new ideas, new plant ideas on what you can plant on your balcony garden as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video. Bye!